The Russian and Chinese presidents, who have met 40 times in the previous decade, shared many kind words during this week's widely watched summit between Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping. She reassured Putin of his continued support for Russia's position on Ukraine, and Paris inked a dozen cooperative agreements geared at constructing a multiple world with a smaller West. But on. She left Putin waiting after he bragged that the nations had almost concluded an agreement for a large natural gas pipeline. The Power of Siberia 2 is a proposed pipeline that may transport up to 98 billion cubic meters of natural gas from northeastern Russia to China through Mongolia by 2030. It is enough to meet a fourth of China's current gas demand. Moscow regards the initiative as a critical component of its plan for protecting Russia's fossil fuel sector in a global market dominated by the energy transition and Putin's warmongering. The summit's joint statement, on the other hand, featured just anemic promises to work hard to accelerate work on researching and agreeing on the project. The rejection is significant for both Russia and the environment. Russia derives 66 of its exports and 45 of its government revenue from fossil fuels. Because of the conflict, Russia has shut off natural gas supply to the EU for political reasons. At the same time, the EU has imposed restrictions on Russian oil imports. As a consequence, Russia's oil and gas earnings are expected to plummet in the immediate term. They were just half of what they were a year earlier, by February. Meanwhile, the conflict has hastened those in long-term structural collapse. China has the ability to drive the clouds away by increasing its spending on Russian oil, coal, and natural gas from $52.01 billion in 2020, to $81.03 billion in 2022. The nation has already helped Russia recover some of its losses. China saved an estimated $5 billion in reductions negotiated in response to EU sanctions Peru. If permitted, Siberia 2's power would assist Russia in permanently reorienting its gas sector to the east. Some fossil fuel opponents are compensating for the now stranded fields and pipelines designed to service Europe. Fears that such an alliance between the world's two greatest emitters would reverse the UAE's progress toward a greener economy as a consequence of the conflict, but China does not seem eager to commit yet. According to Erica Downs, a senior research fellow at Columbia University's Center for Global Energy Policy who specializes in Chinese energy markets and geopolitics, she claims that Chinese refiners are eager to acquire Russian oil on the cheap and in one-time deals. The combined capability. The power of Siberia's pipelines would be almost equal to the whole quantity of natural gas China now receives from the rest of the world. Some feel China is merely waiting for improved financial conditions. China, which imports over 3/4 of its oil and nearly half of its natural gas, may yet give Putin what he wants, considers its resource, rich neighbor to be essential for national energy security. Yet, although China is accelerating the deployment of renewable energy, it will be decades before the country's economy can be powered solely by clean domestic infrastructure. For the time being, though, Russia's future Putin will have to put on a brave face in the face of looming uncertainty. Putin relies heavily on energy sources to fund his conflict in Ukraine, and its allies continue to arm the Kiev administration with weaponry for retaliation. Although China has avoided explicitly giving military help to Russia, it remains Putin's most significant diplomatic and commercial partner, as well as a major source of income. Bilateral commerce has increased, owing in part to high oil and gas costs. In 2020, set a new record. According on statistics from China's imports, Russia is the country's second-largest supplier of crude oil and coal, behind Saudi Arabia and Indonesia, respectively, and its fourth-largest supplier of liquefied natural gas. The amount of gas piped across land in the final 10 months of 2022 is not included in the previous ranking. China spent $74.03 billion for Russian energy, crude oil, and products, natural gas, and coal. China has not acknowledged the price ceiling on Russian oil established by the Group of 7 industrialized nations and their allies since December, and does not seem to be purchasing below the $68 barrel threshold, down from $46.8 billion in the similar time of 2020. 1. According to the worldwide energy market. This is impossible to prove with confidence due to opaque pricing. Last month, China and India absorbed more than 70 of Russia's oil exports, resulting in lower supplies to Europe. Last year, gas flowed through Siberia's power. Link, which was inaugurated at the end of 2019, increased about 50 to 15.5 billion cubic meters, with a target of 38 billion cubic meters each year by 2025. Gazprom negotiated an extension to its $400 billion deal with China National Petroleum Corp. In September, the largest in Russian gas producer history to change payments from euros to rubles and yuan. The second Far Eastern pipeline is expected to supply an additional 10 billion cubic meters of gas per year. The Power of Siberia 2 project, which is now being discussed, could then transport up to 50 billion cubic meters each year. It would import gas from the Kola Peninsula, which is also where Russia gets its European exports. The Chinese seem to be under no time constraint in negotiating important Yakov. Sales of coal to Russia's largest clients have increased, and the first railway bridge over the Amur River will aid in alleviating transportation bottlenecks on the interior Trans-Siberian network. China's importance is expanding in metals, which are still illegal. Anemic nickel. PJSC, a leading nickel supplier, has been in negotiations with its Chinese customers for long-term contracts located in Shanghai. Outside of China, Brazil is the world's largest producer of aluminum. Increased sales to Asia last year, but now depends on China for alumina after Australia restricted exports to Russia and its Ukrainian facility in Mishela was occupied by Ukraine this year after being idled by the fighting. Putin stated last month at the 30th anniversary of Gazprom that the Asia-Pacific, and particularly China, will drive world demand for gas over the next 20 years, making it critical to increase gas production, processing, and transportation facilities in Russia's east. What are your thoughts on Russia's prohibition on importing oil from EU countries? Please let me know if you want to understand more about the investment industry and its future. We've included 2 videos for you to view below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this video for more material. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.